another teammate that needs a little note of encouragement, you can write them a little note. And we'll, once you're done, let me know. How are we doing? A little more? Good? Alright. Okay, I'll pause there, but you can keep writing obviously later tonight, and I would really encourage like the power. I know we text and we message, and I study online social support, and I believe in its power. But I also think that there's something about a handwritten note, and being able to give to someone that literally, I mean, I keep some of these things from teammates who reached out to me or who messaged me about, or who wrote to me about things. I think there's something about giving something in hand that's different, and we've lost a little bit of it with this generation of all of us of texting and messaging and emailing and stuff. So a letter goes a long way. Thank you guys for doing that. Okay, we are moving to, yes?
Just on the last part, just you, yeah, in terms of informational support, is there anything you'd go about doing if someone doesn't listen to advice or suggestions?
That's a great question. Yeah, well, because often within these things, people will only hear it if they want to, often,
Yeah.
you know? And so part of it is, again, maybe trying to understand, and I'm curious if you guys have feedback on this, if you had experiences in your own, but part of it's trying to understand what do they need, what are they open to hearing at that point? Because you could coach someone all day long, but if that's actually not what they are needing in that moment, you might miss them entirely. And so part of it maybe is also thinking about if they're not open to hearing it, you know, what are they needing, or what are they open to needing in that moment? I remember even there was a time when my coach was often kind of giving me all these different things to focus in on, and it was exhausting, and I almost just needed I just needed her to like feel that she believed in me as a player, which is a very different kind of feedback that I wanted than like, you know, in that moment than like all this different types of coaching. And I didn't articulate that to her, but part of it was understanding yourself and understanding what you need as well, and helping other people kind of understand what they might need to. But has anyone had that scenario when you tried to tell someone how to do something and they don't listen? And how did you respond with that? It's okay if it didn't work, but maybe it worked.
I don't know, I just try to reiterate. Well, I think that there's also a difference between what they're open to and what they need to what they want.
Yeah.
I think there's like a distinction. If you're not giving them what they want, they're not going to listen. So
Exactly.
I just try to reiterate how important it is for them if they want to kind of go back to their values, their goals, and then try to align those with the things that I'm telling them, the bias of the problem solving or whatever it may be. And then maybe that'll kind of get them out of the stubborn funk, or maybe get them out of whatever they may be feeling.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great. And it's kind of like also understanding, and you have to like, what is their larger goal of what they're trying to work on, or what, you know, what they're caring about right now. And then how do you kind of then give them feedback and from that? That's great. Has anyone been on the other side when you've like, someone's giving you feedback and it's not what you want to hear? And kind of, can you tell us what that was like, or what you would have preferred? Yeah.
Well, I'm not thinking about the time I was in that position,
Yeah.
but if they're myself in someone else's shoes, it might be that they just don't know how to act in a certain way that isn't what they're used to.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to put themselves in that position.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's, yes. They don't, yeah, that's great. I can see a lot of those scenarios in my head. That's great. Anyone else, like when you felt like someone just said something to you that wasn't what you wanted to hear? Yeah.
Well, I also think that like tone of voice is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like when I played travel ball, I had a coach that was like to yell a lot, and then when I got here, my coach is a lot more like emotional and soft spoken. Sometimes I just want her to yell at me.
Yeah.
But like so.
Mhm. And part of that again is maybe telling them how you want to hear it. Like I have often one way of kind of coaching people, and it's not always what, I coached high school volleyball for one, and it was very interesting. You can't coach everyone the same way, and you've got to sometimes as a player tell them what you need in that moment, which is hard because it's managing up. I need to even do that in my jobs. Like, this is the way that I work, and this is the way that what I need from you in that point too. That was great. Was there another one? Yeah.
One of our assistant coaches had a pretty bad Big Ten loss. She just went around the room and told every single person of what they weren't doing right or not bringing to the team.
Yeah.
And for me personally, she said like my offensive ability wasn't where it needed to be.
In front of everyone. In front of others.
Yeah, I guess I kind of just realized I need to like stop thinking what I could do and bring like more effort on the defensive end. So I guess it kind of like tore me down for a little bit, but then in the end like helped.
That's cool. That's a good one too. Of like, I'm not gonna let it affect me too much, and I'm gonna like work to make it better because of it too. And that's sometimes a tactic coaches will do, is calling you out in front of other people, which for me was hard, but also I think it can build up your resiliency as well. Which I did, yeah.
For me, I mean, there's been multiple instances where people have told me things that I don't necessarily want to hear, but I think I need to hear them, and like teammates pulling me aside, or friends talking to me, and even in the moment, if I don't think I need that, I also know that those people have my best interest in mind, so at the end of the day, you kind of have to trust some people blindly and like just kind of jump and like do what they say, because no one, I don't think the people that I'm listening to would ever like steer me the wrong way.
Yeah, that's great. And also, I think you're tapping on a good thing around the way we receive feedback. Often people give us feedback that they want to hear, or that they are like some lesson that they learned. So usually it's pretty actually self-interested in them, not in a bad way, but like taking it with grace almost because of what they're saying to you, and that they usually do want to make you better. Most people aren't trying to tear you down, though. I know some people, when you get feedback from them, they are, or they feel like they are. But I think taking it with that mindset is so much more powerful. You can learn from it rather than being like pushing away, which is how we can often respond. Any others on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that especially like in certain moments, like being on teams, like if you're receiving feedback in practices or games, there's a lot of emotion there, and so I think and from my experience, like reflecting is really helpful. Once like you've left practice, left the game, go home, get a chance to kind of let those emotions subside, and then reflecting on feedback. And I know that there have been times where I didn't receive it well in the moment, and I realized later that's exactly what I need to hear.
Yes.
And then I think it's really nice then to like the next day or whenever you see that person next to recognize. I'll usually just say like thank you for saying that the other day, like that was really helpful. So I think reflecting on it once emotions are kind of at bay is really helpful.
Totally, yes. And sometimes there's the initial like embarrassment, anger, pushback, but I love your point of reflection. The other thing I'll say about reflection that's cool, how many people journal regularly? Some of you guys? Yeah, or some teams I know will like encourage players to do too. For me, I literally journaled all throughout college because a coach had recommended that we write it and like reflect. And so for me, what was cool about that was I actually saw patterns of like what was happening in my mind. Like what do people keep telling me that wasn't working? Or what did what was getting me like motivated at different times. So I think also if you can, and it's okay if you're not a journaler, maybe it's like you start getting in a routine of right before you before you get out of bed, or instead of looking at Facebook or Instagram, like what if you spend a couple minutes just reflecting and kind of thinking. We're right at the end of the day before bed, which I know we're tired and there's homework, but like spending a couple minutes to think, what did I learn today? How did I grow today? What are the things that people said to me today that could make me stronger? Or that didn't work well. But yeah, I think your point about journaling can be so powerful, especially as athletes, but the applications will extend, I promise. They have extended for me so much after college. Okay, so you're ready. So this is actually almost going to seem like a relationship lesson, because this is actually learnings from a book that's called How to Be an Adult in a Relationship. The reason I brought this in with emotional intelligence, and I'm going to go quickly through it, not only, and some of these are going to, when I talk about them, are going to seem like they're just about romantic relationships. I think that they extend actually to all relationships, and this is why I wanted to bring it up. So the 5 things that they talk about in this book are the 5 A's, which a lot of leadership coaches, and things will kind of give you these to help you remember. So they're attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing. And so let's see if this might help your, any kind of relationship that you have, but hopefully also with your teammates and coaches as well. These slides are not beautifully done. Because of my dissertation, I would have put photos and gotten this going, but they are what they are given the time. So allowing. So the first one is in thinking about in an adult-to-adult relationship, which is what we're growing, what we are all growing into now. Part of it is kind of letting the other person be who they are and what they are. So this talks about kind of, and a lot of the skills that we've been talking about in emotional intelligence, of really having the chance to give someone the space to be their own self. So it talks about notice, listen, focus, and really engage in the other person. So part of this, say with allowing, is also not, if you think about a coach yelling at you, as we were just talking about, or giving you feedback, it's not necessarily kind of pushing against them, like, oh, they're a terrible person, but it's kind of letting them be the way that they are and kind of responding to that. So part of that then is in with this teammate or the dynamic or whoever, part of it is making them feel respected and understood and that they matter to you. And so again, there are a lot of ways that we can allow people to be, and that's how powerful it can be. Okay, second one is acceptance. So part of this is, it's a little bit extended from allowing, but it's accepting kind of the person and who they are. So it demonstrates in your words and actions that you approve of who the person is. And sometimes I think what's cool about this with a teammate is that, and maybe, and not that we can approve of all things of who someone is, but part of it is acceptance means kind of being with them without judgment of who they are. And so part of the research does in relationships is that like by giving someone acceptance, you actually help them build their own confidence in themselves. And so you can kind of take that as you wish within it. The third one is about appreciation. And so part of it is kind of expressing gratitude to this person for what they've done, to what you admire about them. I know in what you were just writing in your letters, it means a lot when actually you recognize people and what you appreciate about them. And that, again, in all kinds of relationships can be incredibly important. Gottman, it was a relationship science who actually Goldman talks a lot about, that they say that in relationships that couples who give 5 compliments for every negative actually are couples that last and persist. And that could again be in friendships as well. Some friendships I know are more confrontational and not so affirming, but actually the most successful relationships are ones in which there's a high degree of appreciation in each other and recognition of one another. Affection, so obviously this is not going to be in a team setting, the kind of affection in a romantic relationship, but feeling a sense of closeness, and I know for me, and as I said, my role was team hugger, but part of that was like making people feel a sense of belonging and affection on the team. And I kind of embraced that role because I wasn't playing all the time, and part of my role was, again, making people feel comfortable in a sense of belonging. And so that can kind of be expressed through playfulness or kind words or thoughtful actions towards them. Last one, allowing. And this is, again, a lot of these I think are really intertwined. I think personally that's a way to do a lot. But anyway, this is letting someone be themselves and giving them the freedom to do things their own way. And so, again, it doesn't mean that we accept that if someone's being hurtful to us. Sometimes, again, coaches or teammates can actually be abusive to us, verbally, emotionally, but it does mean that we are allowing them to be and giving them the space to not try and control totally who they are. Okay, so that was your relationship lesson, but again, I think it applies to all kinds of relationships. The cool thing about this, IQ can totally be developed, but the big thing that the research says is that EQ, or this kind of emotional intelligence, can really be developed. And so I want to end this is my last little lecture of the day, is that the research I've been doing has looked a lot at self-efficacy, and so that's around your confidence and your belief in your abilities to do something. And they say that the 4 ways that you can build up confidence, one is through mastery, or kind of feeling like you can see your progress. The second one is through getting social support and having people kind of affirm your actions. The third is by role models or modeling, seeing examples of other people who've done it before you. And then the final is like called physiological states, but it's basically like your grit and resilience and seeing yourself push through. And so what I think is cool about this, so having confidence is having self-efficacy specifically, which is belief in your abilities that you can exert the effort to succeed at a task, can affect the way that you set goals, it can affect the way that you cope, the way that you persist. And so what's cool is that I think both thinking about this for yourself, of how you can build up your confidence, but also thinking the role that you can have in your teammates and in your employees down the road and the people that work with you and around you, is that you can actually help them develop that confidence. And so again, that's a huge power that you have as a leader. Okay, the last thing, and this is in honor of my dad, is that my dad always growing up talked about kind of the story you tell yourself about yourself. And for me, what I think is powerful as an athlete, my dad actually used to come to my volleyball games in high school. Do you remember this, Dad? And he would come in like, be like, you're going to be a bear on the court. That like when you come out there on the court, and we're like little high school girls, like, be a bear. He was like, when you go out there, you are holding yourself in a way that the other team feels your presence. And they're, you know, if you go out there and you're nervous and you're like going to serve and you just swipe it in it, and going out there and the way that you hold yourself, the story that you tell in your head about your own power and about your own leadership really changes the way people feel around you. And you can be a short person, you can be a tall person, you can be at any level, and actually you can change the way that people feel, both in the way that you hold yourself, but also in the story that you tell in your own head of what's going on. And that even affects, in emotional intelligence, a huge part of this is, what is the story you're saying about the people around you? Like, are you saying, oh, they're just trying to push me down? Or are you saying, like, maybe there's a reason why they're responding this way, and I'm not going to let it get to me, but I'm going to try and better understand them and strengthen myself because of that. But I think a big part of this resilience and grit, which I know is a big term that's coming out right now, is about what's your own story within your own head about your own self. And then, again, that changes the way people feel around you. It changes the way that the kind of support that you give others as well. Okay, last story I'll tell you, and then I'll be done. Has anyone been to Disney World? Some of you? Yeah? Okay. My favorite thing about working at Disney is that every employee there at the company is called a cast member. So whether you are the CEO or whether you are an intern in the parks kind of helping push away trash, which I hope to, every person is called a cast member. And that means that everyone who comes into the park is a guest. And so that means, so what's cool about that is you have this mindset of like, how do I make people around me feel welcome and accepted and loved? And that's kind of the character that every person plays. And so what I love is that even the security guards, and I would walk into the parks, you know, as a staff member walking in, and the security guard would be like, "Hello, princess," like when you're walking in. And they say like, "Hello, prince." These are security guards, you know, who are literally spending hours in the hot sun. They're tired. They're, you know, wanting to be home with their families. But part of this era, or this aura of like being a cast member, and you're on a show and it is a play, is that part of your role is making people feel welcome and accepted and cared for. And so what I thought was so cool is that even, you know, even in this, the way that the company's set up is having high emotional intelligence to try and actually look out for people. And they're so conscious about it of like, let's, you know, recognize birthdays and anniversaries, and let's make people feel so special. And like every person who's coming in is this guest. And so what's cool is that someday down the road, when you're running your own companies, or you're thinking about kind of what it is you want to, you're teaching a class, like how are you making the people who enter that class feel? And I think about this even because I run coding camps for girls. These are girls who come in, who a lot of them are homeless. They're girls who have no interest in learning how to code. But I have the chance to actually create this classroom for them when they come in, where I can make them feel welcome. I can make them feel like they like deeply matter, and that coding is fun, and that it's something that we're going to put on music, we're going to think about issues in the community that we care about, we're going to build websites and apps that solve those issues. And so part of the cool thing as a leader is you're creating an environment that people can enter and really feel welcome and feel accepted and feel looked out for. And so part of your role as a leader on your teams is kind of when people are entering, like trying to read what might they be feeling, or what might my coach be feeling, or what might my teammates, and how do I respond to them and really help them feel supported. And that's the root of this emotional intelligence that I think these Disney superheroes taught me. All right, that is all. Do you have questions? I know we don't have much time, but are there any questions? I'm also, feel free to email me. And now I'm a free woman because I'm done with my PhD, so I can actually meet with people, which I know in the past, I know, finally done. I will be here though all summer because I'm wrapping up my edits. So, feel free to email me. But are there any questions about emotional intelligence that come up, or it's okay if there are? No? Yeah, email me if something comes up.
How about another round of applause for that PhD? I'll make this wrap up quick for you all. There are a number of things that you, I hope, took away from this in terms of tangible pieces of information that can help inform your leadership style. Emotional intelligence is a really powerful tool, and when you choose to intentionally engage in it, your ability to influence and to lead increases. I think about emotional intelligence in times when I've been able to connect with students and times that I've missed from an advising capacity. When I'm able to connect with students to make a difference, I'm exercising my emotional intelligence, right? I'm perceiving that student's emotions. I'm understanding where they come from, and I'm connecting. Times that I've missed, I've been distracted. I've not paid attention to how that student walked in the room, and I've pushed in a way that, you know what, my emotional intelligence told me if I would have paid attention, if I would have watched how that person entered the room, I could have made a positive impact on that student's day and not a negative one. I hold on to those moments, and I think that that's a really important thing, because if I continue to challenge myself to exercise emotional intelligence, I will be better at my job. And I see a number of individuals in this room who have been a part of those misses and hopefully a part of those moments where I think those connections have happened. So please don't forget how important and how powerful emotional intelligence can be. One of the things, there were so many things, there were copious notes, so thank you so much. But one of the things that Dr. Harbert did mention was that this can be increased. Like, you can learn, you can improve on your emotional intelligence. I once read this in an article, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But there was an article that someone in senior staff presented, and they talked about jobs and responsibilities require a certain level of IQ, right? Everyone needs this level of IQ to be able to perform this task. But what really sets people apart when you hit that base level is their emotional intelligence. Is that right?
Yes.
That article is officially co-signed by Emily Harbert. So that was something that really stuck with me, right? Individuals in our role, as I think of our advising staff, we all have the IQ to be able to perform the tasks that are required of our job and our function. But if we really want to excel, if we want to be great at what we do, we are intentionally engaging and practicing and increasing our emotional intelligence. You as leaders have an opportunity to do this. We've talked over and over again about leadership as a journey. Your intentional engagement in that journey is going to allow you to be an incredible and an influential leader. Coming to a session, spending 50 minutes, walking away and not thinking about it again is a miss. You all are in this room because someone believes in you and your ability to truly influence and lead. So I challenge you to take that with you. And over the summer, Emily had her email up there. Set up a meeting. Take time to start thinking about your leadership. Talk to people in various facets, professors, coaches, and think about how you can continue to challenge yourself. Those who have successfully completed this Defining Leadership Institute have an opportunity to carry on into the Mastering Leadership Institute, which is next year. That focus shifts from self to actually skills. So what are tangible skills that we can help you hone to become a really effective and influential leader? So as you think about things like accountability, how many of you have struggled with accountability on your team, whether that's holding others or yourself accountable? That's something that you all talk about, right? Effective communication, understanding team roles and how to navigate conflict. All of those things are topics that we'll discuss in that Mastering Leadership Institute. Similar to your experience this year, we're really working hard to bring in the best individuals from across the country to help you engage in that leadership development. There are 4 sessions in that Mastering Leadership group. Okay, so more information to come. I'm going to send a survey out that's going to ask you, I hope that you can be really honest about what worked for you in these sessions, maybe what didn't, and what topics do you feel that are missing that can really help you in your leadership development. But I thank you. I thank you for your time, for your participation, and for your appetite, because we have more pizza and I hope that you all will. So, good luck on finals. Make sure you're staying in contact with your academic advisors.
Beat me to it.